James Saunders, IFL TV, in association with MTK Global. With me, I've got promoter Frank Warren. We're here at the BT studios today. We just had a press conference with Billy Joe Saunders and Willie Monroe Jr. WBO belt on the line. How are you, firstly, Frank?
I'm good. All good, mate.
That's a very stylish suit you've got on today, Frank.
Thank you very much.
Even the shoes.
Oh, do you like them? They're good.
Panache. How are you, anyway?
I'm okay, mate. I'm okay.
Good. Let's firstly dissect what we've witnessed today between Billy Joe Saunders and Willie Monroe Jr. How did you sort of see it play out?
I think Bill's sort of, as always, Bill's very much of a guy that gets into mind games with fighters, and I think he's found a nerve there, and it certainly touched it, so he'll make advantage of that. But what I'm more pleased about with Bill is that he looks well. He's got a new trainer, he's got a new regime, so from his point of view, come the 16th of September, I think he's going to be in tip-top shape, and he has a chance of making a statement against a very good fighter. It's his mandatory defence. Willie Monroe's no slouch. I think his last loss was against Golovkin, which is you look at Golovkin, certainly around that time, was knocking everybody over. He was holding his own till he got clipped. So it's a good fight for Bill. Willie's had a couple of wins since, and I think now Bill's got to go out and make a statement, because it's the same night as the Alvarez and Golovkin fight, and we're in, more or less agreed with Golovkin's people that if Bill comes through, that they'll fight before the end of the year. If it's Alvarez or Canelo, then it'll be in the new year. So Bill knows what he's got to do. He's got a very important piece of a jigsaw in that middleweight division. He's got the WBO belt. The other three are on the line on the same night, so he's got to come good and get himself in that mix. How
important is it that Billy Joe looks good against Willie Monroe Jr. to get this big fight as well?
It is. I think he's got to look good. It's all about winning. You win how you win. It's not just winning; it's how you win. And he's been in some exciting fights, hasn't he? He's been in some good fights. He looked good against Eubank. He looked great against Andy Lee. He's proved he can turn it on when he needs to turn it on, and he does. And certainly the fight with Eubanks, he wasn't 100% fit for that, and he still won it.
Do you think this will be the fear factor he needs to bring the best out of him, to get him in shape, to get him the sort of...
Or he loses that big opportunity of that big fight, big chance of earning a big purse, and if he wins the fight, all the riches that come with that, and he really fancies it. More importantly with Bill, he fancied the fight. Remember, we had the contract on the desk to fight Golovkin in June, but Golovkin had pulled out the fight.
Did you watch the ITV pay-per-view on the weekend with Chris Eubank Jr. versus Arthur Abraham? And if so, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think he done what he had to do. Chris Eubank Jr. He done what he had to do. Let's get it right though. Abrams, was he 37, and on the night he looked more like 47. He'd gone into that fight having struggled to make the weight. It was no secret. I think he said himself that he'd been in Saunders trying to get down to the weight, and he also. He had to lose weight on the night, so it was tough for him. And youth won the fight, Eubank Youth. But I noticed again that he's just that punch. He's not taking any punch power up to that division with him.
Super middleweights have obviously got a massive tournament going on as well in the World Boxing Super Series, which kicks off. We've seen obviously George Groves is in there to defend his world title. Eubank is now going full steam ahead into the tournament. Can you sort of give me your take on that?
I think that's great. I think with George, the standout fight would be George fighting against Eubanks if they both come through their respective fights, which you'd expect them to. Callum Smith's got a good chance, but the best super middleweight in the world is not in it, and that's James DeGale for injury. He's not in it, so it's not for the best fighter. And Billy Joe Saunders is not in it.
Would he have gone up to super middleweight if the opportunity had come about?
I'm sure we could have done it, but he's got the bigger challenge. They're fighting for the right to become this. What they call it, the Super Series champion, which doesn't include the best. He's fighting to fight not just the best, the winner of Canelo and Golovkin, but two of the top, probably 3 or 4, if not the top 2 fighters in the world. That's what he's aiming for, not to fight those guys. The best super middleweight's not in that tournament. He's looking to fight the best. It's more important. His fight to me is more important for what it leads to for a British fighter to go and try and unify those 4 belts. That to me is a real tournament.
Let's talk a little bit about all them belts. Obviously, Gennady Golovkin, Canelo Alvarez is going to take place on the same night as Billy Joe Saunders, Willie Monroe Jr. Who do you expect to come through the Golovkin-Canelo fight, Frank, victorious?
Up until his fight with Jacobs, I fancied Golovkin quite big. Since then, I still fancy Golovkin, but I think it's really shifted. There's not a lot in it, and I respect Golovkin for going in the other guy's backyard. It's a Mexican holiday. He's going in there. You know that the venue's going to be full up with probably 95% of them are going to be Mexicans, all supporting their man. So he's got some balls to do that and stepped up, and that tells you the mark of the man. I don't know. I like him. I know he's got, he's got a bit older. He's older. However, they're in their prime. They're not two washed-up fighters. They're in their prime. Pulling out the fight against Bill probably has done him some good, because he probably needed a rest, because he's a very active fighter, Golovkin. He fights regularly, and fights anyone. He'll fight anyone. So, I just feel that he's recharged his batteries, which will make it an even. I just think it's going to be such a good fight. I really do think. I think these two guys are going to really give the fans some, maybe a classic, one of the modern day classic fights.
People saying that Golovkin struggles with southpaws. Willie Monroe Jr. out pretty convincingly. He's a southpaw. Yeah. Danny Jacobs obviously gave him more problems in that southpaw stance with the switch hitting. Does that give you encouragement for Billy Joe Saunders potentially?
Well, Bill's a natural. Obviously, he's a natural southpaw, and also Bill's a natural middleweight. So, and he's young, he's undefeated, and he fancies it. The thing is with Bill, he fancies it. He's got a good chin, can box. He's got as good a chance as any of them. Sorry, not as good a chance. He's got a better chance than any of them. And it'd be interesting to see what this fight between the two guys in the States, what it takes out of them. And hopefully then Bill comes through, he's in that mix, and he'll get that fight in December.
What did you make of the Mayweather-McGregor press conference in London? It was a crazy sort of day, but put it into your own words, your take.
Well, it's a great event. It is an event. Everybody's buying into it. The public are buying into it. And that's what I call it, an event. You've got the best UFC fighter. I don't know much about UFC, so I can't really comment on that, but you've got the best UFC fighter fighting the best fighter of his generation in Floyd Mayweather, who even at his age is fit as a butcher's dog, in a boxing match. I know what Mayweather can do. I don't know what Conor McGregor can do as a boxer, because I've never seen him box. So I don't know. On paper, I don't see there's any way that Floyd can get beat, but that's on paper. You never know what's going to happen in these scenarios. You don't know what McGregor's going to do, whether he's going to revert to, that bell goes, is he going to box him, is he going to do something, revert back to UFC? Who knows what's going to happen, but one thing's for sure, it is an event, and some of the stuff that's gone down, we know is all crap, and he's sort of hyping that, but he is, it's an event, and I'll buy it, I'll watch it.
Even if it's £100?
Yeah, I'll watch it, because that's me. I'll watch it. I'm interested. It intrigues, even though you feel you know the result. I'll watch it. Because anything can happen in boxing.
Now, Frank, you're an old school type of man. McGregor's antics and some of the stuff he does, some people find it funny. Are you underneath it, or are you laughing at some of the stuff he comes over?
Well, that most of that stuff is just crap. It's all. People think that promoters get fighters at it. Let's do this and let's do that. The ones when these things happen, it's spontaneous. It happens for a reason. And obviously you don't want it. I don't want two guys getting head to head and putting their heads on each other. One gets cut, the fight's off. So nobody wants that to happen. With these two guys, they're travelling on the same plane, aren't they? Going to
some of the bizarre.
So I'm hearing. I don't know if that's true. So that's where you go. So you got to put two and two together, and you know where you are on that. But when that bell goes, pride is going to make. I don't think the fighting Irishman that he is, Conor McGregor, is going to sit on the floor. So I think he'll go out on his shield.
Frank, you've probably been in between more warring fighters than anyone and done more head-to-heads. What moment and what do you think back was one of the most sort of hostile head-to-heads where you thought it's going to go off here, and you're obviously in the middle of it, getting your pictures taken and stuff?
Well, we've had a few things happen over the years. I can remember David Haynes' horrible. We stuck a fence in the middle because I didn't fancy being.
I was actually there for that.
I didn't fancy being the meat in that sandwich, so we put a fence in the middle of them. But there's loads of odious. But sometimes it just comes out of nothing. It just comes out.
Like Audley Harris and Danny Williams, that one was going about.
And then you look at Joshua and Klitschko. They were perfect gentlemen, weren't they? Behaved to each other. It was what it was, but everybody's trying to get an edge in box. The boxers are trying to get an edge and come fight. Those 2 days and after
near
the
weight as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of edginess about it. Their careers are on the line, so anything happens. So they show a lot of self-restraint. Most of them do, and we're here to make sure if anything gets out of hand, we stop it. But sometimes it adds to the fight, doesn't it? People, I want to see that now. Did you see what they just did to each other? And we get all that, we know all that stuff. But a good fight doesn't need all that rubbish. It doesn't need any of that. A good fight, people know when they're going to see a good fight, and people will tune in to watch it or buy a ticket to see it.
All right. Well, if there's anything you want to add, Frank, before we go?
No, I think that's about it, mate. Oh, we got Daniel Dubois and Anthony Yarde will both be on the undercard, and we'll be announcing their opponents, and there'll be other title fights on the same card. So it'll be, I think we've put on some really competitive and good shows over the last since we've been on BT.
I think you have as well. The chief supports after the main event, the 2 or 3 fights around the main event have always been very competitive.
It'll be the same again. So there's going to be a good night's boxing at the Copper Box, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Any truth in Yarde Frank Buglioni being
Well, let me tell you, funny,
because
good job you mentioned that. What's going on regarding that? Well, the Border Control made Frank against, I can't think what it is now, but anyway, they made him against somebody, and they said a final eliminator between Anthony and Hosea Burton. I've got no problem with fighting Burton. I fancy him against all of them, but I rang Robert Smith and he agreed to it. I said, if we can make Buglioni against Anthony Yarde, and Anthony agrees if he wins, or Buglioni, to fight each of the other guys afterwards, or the 2 guys, whoever they are, fight them afterwards, then great. So let's try and do that, and let's try and get on. I think the reason they split the fights up, they say, is because Gallagher trains 2 of the fighters, and he didn't want to put these 2 fighters against each other.
It'll be Callum Johnson, the other fighter.
Yeah, that's it. Yes,
sorry, Callum.
So they're good. It's all good fights, but I would like to see. I'm manning with Frank Buglioni. Let's find out who's the best out of that. That's the fight on paper that everybody wants to see. Frank said he wants it. Anthony wants it. The Border Control said if we can do it and agree terms with the other 2 guys that they fight the winner, each get a chance of fighting the winner, then let's get on with it and do it. And I spoke to Robert Smith and he said, yeah, if you can do that, do it.
I'll tell you what, Yarde Callum Johnson would be a good fight.
They're all good fights.
That would be a cracker of a fight.
They're all good fights, and I think that, Anthony Yarde, he's got no fear of fighting anyone.
You'd put him in with a Hulk, wouldn't you? You're so confident in the Yarde.
Well, let me tell you, have you seen anything at all at the moment that makes you worry about him?
Only thing, like I said, that I want to see him take a couple of, not being bad, but see what he's like when he takes a couple of shots. Apart from that, he's ticking all the boxes, and social media's going absolutely crazy.
He can punch, he's got fast hands, and every punch he throws, he places them, he's got a great boxing brain. Now listen, if he gets
great temperament as well.
and that's what I'm saying, he's not fazed by anybody. I've got belief in him, and Tunde's done a fantastic job with him. He's a great trainer, and he's done a great job with him. And for me, he's got a long way to go yet. But when you consider he's only had 12 pros and 12 amateur fights, that's amazing where he's at. But he's a very exciting fighter, as is Daniel Dubois.
Credit to Tunde, he keeps finding these great kids, and credit to him, and not only that, developing them in such a way that
he's done well with them, and it's just a shame that some of them didn't show the loyalty they should have done to him.
Rightly so. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.